Welcome everyone to another video, and in this video we're going to be talking about the Halloween event for 2019. Halloween event, for me personally, is really important because the Halloween event was the first event that happened in Pokemon Go, and honestly one of my most memorable events. No, it was super fun when I did it back in 2016. I remember just running up and down by the water, by Jack Layton Ferry Terminal and Harborfront and all that stuff. So it was super fun. So this Halloween event is always something I really look forward to, and it's crazy. This is the fourth Halloween event for Pokemon Go that I'll be participating in. So anyways, let's go ahead and take a look at it. It starts on Thursday, October 17th, which is 3 days from now, at the standard time, 1 p.m. Pacific time, -7 GMT. What's included in this is pretty interesting. First one is the Shadow Pokemon. The main reason why you want to go after the Shadow Pokemon is the opportunity to purify and then get access to return. So with return, there's certain Pokemon that you want it to have access to. Either you want to provide like a neutral coverage, so that Pokemon has a pretty limited move pool, and having the normal type return, which is not a great move, but also not a terrible move. I think it's like 40 and 50. 40 energy, 50 damage. It allows you to hit neutral to Pokemon that you otherwise would hit resisted or double resisted against. The second reason is that it's a pretty low energy move. 40 energy is the second lowest that you can have after 35, which would be like Body Slam or Power Up Punch, Aqua Tail, etc. So it often acts as a really good baiting move, or at least gives you the opportunity to bait and then hit with a really good closing move. So when we take a look at this list, we see that Rocket Sauce will contain Weedle, Kakuna, Beedrill. None of those are that important because Beedrill already has access to X-Scissor. And I'm trying to think of like a situation where, X-Scissor, Sludge Bomb, where normal would actually do some damage. Because like those are resisted by rock, for example, or they're resisted by steel. So normal would also be resisted. So not too useful for Beedrill. For Electabuzz, it has access. Electabuzz. Actually, I don't know what Electabuzz's move pool is. Actually, let's look that up right now. All right. Okay, so with return, it might be interesting, especially in situations where you're going up against a ground type Pokemon or you're against Swampert, for example. Then you'll be able to hit with neutral damage. But Electabuzz is not terribly useful. Electivire will probably be more useful, but it will also be able to retain that moveset once it evolves. But Electivire has access to Ice Punch, which gives it really good coverage. So, it's helpful for Electabuzz. Don't get me wrong; it might be situational chances, but it's not really going to be that prominent for Electabuzz. Magmar, I think has Brick Break. Magmar, okay, does it? No, it does not. I think Magmortar has it. So right now it only has fire moves. So it might give it like some decent coverage against water type Pokemon, and you might find some situational use. But Magmar, similar to Electabuzz, doesn't really have a great stat spread, and then Magmar doesn't have a great fast move, so it might have a little bit more play as Magmortar, but right now nothing really too exciting for Magmar. Lapras, it already has access to Skull Bash, which is a great normal type move. It has access to Surf, which is obviously a water type move. So with return, could it win like a mirror match against a non? Let's see. Let's actually take a look. So Lapras, say Lapras versus Lapras. Yeah, it recommends the double let's say you have something crazy. Okay, let's look at well, for sure it will win in this situation, but can you ice beam? Yeah, for sure it will win in this situation. Well, I can't imagine it would. Let's see, actually, would just return who wins. So looks like with return versus surf. Return does allow you to win just barely. It does 1 more damage than surf when resisted. So, maybe it help you like win like the Celio matchup, for example, if it has Powder Snow and Aurora Beam, but it has access to Body Slam, so you're probably gonna lose. Yeah. So, return not that exciting for Lapras because it already has really great move pool in Surf, in Ice Beam, and in Skull Bash. And Skull Bash, even though it hits for neutral and there's no stab to it, does give that defensive buff, so it allows it to push it over the edge. So I don't see too much play with Lapras. Mareep, man, Ampharos. I don't even know what moves Ampharos has. Ampharos has. Return might have some play, but it has like pretty bad fast moves. Its stat spread's okay. It's squishy for sure, but it's not absolutely terrible. So return gives it a little bit more coverage, but I don't think you'll see too much play with Ampharos unless a meta really favors it. And you never know. With C-Dot and Nuzleaf, when it comes to Shiftry already has access to Leaf Blade and Foul Play, which are especially Leaf Blade, are really cheaper than Return in terms of its how much energy it costs, and then Foul Play gives it like some really good coverage. I don't think there's very many Pokemon that resist both Leaf Blade and Foul Play, but I'm sure someone will let me know down in the resist Leaf Blade and trying to think of one right now. Oh, like Blaziken, I guess. Blaziken would be an example where it resists Leaf Blade and Foul Play, and Return would hit for neutral. But if you're going against a Blaziken, you're in pretty big trouble. Let's just take a look at that. Shiftry versus Blaziken. Let's say it's running counter, Blaze Kick, and you're running Razor Leaf, and you have access to Return. Yeah, you're not even going to get to it, so you would have to have like a pretty decent energy advantage to be able to hit it. But if you could, like if you came in and did like, I don't really know. Let's see, you are at 24 energy, and you need, each one does, oh man, there's no way. If you had like a 20 energy advantage, sure. Okay, let's take a look. Oh man, it doesn't even bother doing the, let's say just return. Let's see if it even get to return. Okay, you become pretty close, but so maybe some play with Shiftry, but I don't see a ton with Shiftry. Sableye is one that I think is pretty interesting, and I have like a separate data on that. And the reason why it's interesting is that Sableye's moves are Shadow Sneak, Foul Play, Power Gem. Typically, you want Foul Play, and in open metas, you want Power Gem because resisted Foul Play is only slightly worse than Shadow Sneak. And there are situations where Shadow Sneak will allow you to win a matchup, for example, but they're very far and few between. Oftentimes, they allow you to win a matchup with slightly more HP or whatnot. Versus Power Gem has like really great coverage against a lot of flyers like Altaria, for example. So if we take a look, when we compare Power Gem to Return in Open Great League, not including unreleased Gen 5, we see that Power Gem wins 240 in the no shield, 272 in the one shield, and this is including Shadow Claw and Foul Play, obviously, and then 256 in the two shield, while Return gives up some of that closing situation matchups because it only does 222 wins, but but it allows you to win slightly more in the 1 shield at 275 and win a lot more in the 2 shield at 284. Obviously, this is very bait dependent, so take that into consideration. But return on Sableye, if you can get 100% or a really good IV one, especially after the purification process, it's already level 25. I think that's a pretty good deal. Something that you should definitely try to go for, and something that I'll be pursuing in terms of the rocket stops, trying to get a purified Sableye and trying to get a really high IV one so I can max it and then double move in and probably run foul play on it. So I think it's definitely one of those really, really good options. When we take a look at the other Pokemon, Trapinch already has Dragon Claw, and then it has like Earth Power, Earthquake, which are really good coverage. I can't think of too many Pokemon right now. Well, I guess Togekiss is an example of a Pokemon that resists ground moves and dragon moves, so some play there. But if you're locked in against Togekiss, you're probably not in a particularly great situation. Cacnea, probably not. Shuppet is the other interesting one. So if we take a look at, let's see. Oh yeah, sure. There goes. Banette. This is against the Sinister Cup meta. We see in the typically for Banette, you want to run Shadow Claw, Shadow Ball, and then Thunder. Thunder because its other move is Dazzling Gleam, and Thunder is a little bit cheaper and probably a little bit more relevant in this meta. Not that many Pokemon resist Thunder, maybe like just Steelix, but then you have Shadow Ball for it. Thunder is really good against like Poliwrath, for example, or really good against against Empoleon is another example. So in the 0 shield, you pick up 65 wins, 62 in the 1 shield, and then 64 in the 2 shield, which is not terrible, but it's certainly behind its other Ghost Brethren. In terms of return, it allows you to pick up 2 more matchups in the no shield and pick up a lot more matchups in the 1 shield. And then surprisingly, it actually allows you, it loses 1 more matchup in the 2 shield versus Thunder, but also loses 2 less matchups. So take that in consideration. About even in the 2 shield, but you'll see that return really stars in the 1 shield, and that's mostly in the 2 shield. Kind of suffers because like it's not bulky enough oftentimes to get to 3 charge moves where 2 shields would be useful. So in the 1 shield, if you're able to land Shadow Ball and then have them shield return, is a really, really great option. Banette is super attack oriented, so even those returns, no stab and okay charge move will do a ton of damage. All right, so that covers rocket stops and shadow Pokemon and all that stuff. So some pretty interesting things. Some new avatar gear if you're really interested. Zubat bag, Pikachu onesie. That's Cubone cap, Litwick cap. I think that's Litwick cap is something really cool. Mimikyu bag. I know a lot of people like Mimikyu, even though it hasn't been released in the game yet. It's pretty interesting that they've released a decent amount of stuff related to it. And then as well, for those that are shiny hunters, Yan Mask. And then it evolves to Kaffa Grigus. I think that's how you pronounce it. Someone will let me know down in the comment section below on how to pronounce it better. So if we take a look at Kaffa Grigus, I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. We take a look at it. It's a ghost type. It has like pretty decent bulk. It's like, I would consider it bulky. It has similar stat spread to Meganium, Blastoise, and Bronzong. But its fast moves are absolutely trash. They're absolutely terrible. It has Astonish, which is basically a lesser version of Hex, and Hex is only okay. And then Zen Headbutt is like absolutely terrible. Like, don't even bother using Zen Headbutt. They nerf Zen Headbutt so much because Blissey has access to it, and they didn't want Blissey to be good in any sense. And then unfortunately, all Pokemon that have access to Zen Headbutt also then have one useless fast moves. Just charge moves, has pretty decent charge moves. Shadow Ball, Dark Pulse, and Psychic are all like, Shadow Ball is a very good charge move, and then Dark Pulse and Psychic are good. So in terms of usefulness and Sinister, 0%. Like, you would have to be really gutsy to run it and to use it in your line of 3, and then has 0% relevance in Open Great League, and then 0% relevance in Ultra League. If it got Hex, it would at least have some play in Sinister and a little bit of play in Great League. So unfortunately, it wouldn't even be necessarily that great in Sinister either, because it doesn't have a bait move like a lot of the other Shadow Ball Pokemon do, like Bone Club on Lonely Marowak, or Ominous Wind on Drifblim, and Shadow Punch on a Haunter, or Return on Banette. So even if it got Hex, it would still be only an okay Pokemon. And Dark Pulse doesn't really do much. I guess it allows it to hit super effective against Girafarig, and that's pretty much it. And then Psychic allows it to hit super effective against Poliwrath, for example, but limited relevance. So if we keep going down the list, but it's shiny. Shiny do more damage per Jimbo Banks. In terms of don't be scared, more Ghost and Dark type Pokemon will appear in the wild, in eggs, and in raids. Ghastly, Murkrow will be and more will be appearing more often, making its Halloween debut, as we talked about before. The Spirit type Pokemon. Ghastly, if you're really into grinding and getting XP, Ghastly relatively cheap candy, 25 to evolve, so that's pretty useful return, and there are usually a ton of Ghastlies for this event, so something for you to take a look at for sure. Pokemon wearing creepy cute Halloween costumes in raids in the wild. Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle would be wearing various costumes, but looks like they're going to be exclusive to raids. So if you want to get the shiny variant, you'll definitely have to do a lot of raids. And then Pikachu will be wearing a Mimikyu costume, which is pretty cute. Unfortunately, going to be really annoying to transfer. And then as well, it has a chance to be shiny. So definitely, if you're a big shiny hunter, there's the starters, Pikachu and Yamask as Yamask and Pikachu in the wild, and then Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and Charmander in raids. And then the Pitch Black Pokemon will be making its ominous debut in Darkrai, appearing in 5-star raids, basically legendary raids. And let's go ahead and take a look at it. So Darkrai has a 285 attack, 198 defense, 172 stamina. Its 285 attack is very high. It's like one of the I think 8th highest in the game. And then it's like not bulky. It's not super squishy. It's like a little bit less bulky than a Mewtwo. If you want to have a baseline, not armored Mewtwo, just regular Mewtwo. It's a little less techy than that, but it is a dark type, so it's definitely going to have some play. So if we take a look at for as a dark type Pokemon with double dark moves, which is actually not what you use in most cases, you'll see that it's the number 1 dark type attacker. But fun fact is that Shadow Ball is actually better than Dark Pulse, even though Dark Pulse has same type attack bonus. Is that Shadow Ball is so amazing, and then Dark Pulse is like slightly below average. So definitely you'll see more. You'll see when you're running your Darkrai, you should be using Snarl, Shadow Ball, for raids, and then you'll see against Giratina, altered form. This is the list. No weather boost, level 40. You'll see that Darkrai is the number 7 attacker. And then when you think about it as like anti-psychic type Pokemon, which one is the best attacker? So when we looked at Cresselia, for example, you'll see that. Actually, let's just go to it. All right, I'm gonna go to the beta site, and then we're gonna go to raids. Okay, actually, I realize I have to include it as a browser. Actually, no, we can just go back to here. You'll see that when we go down to Cresselia, and I'm going to switched by level. This is on the beta site for Pokebattler. So if you support Pokebattler on their website or on Patreon, then you can access to some of this exclusive information ahead of time. It's going to make it neutral weather. So you'll see in neutral conditions, Chandelure is number one, and that makes sense. Chandelure has like a pretty good moveset. It has stab on Shadow Ball. It has like decent bulk on it. So, but when you look at the various moveset, you'll see that the number one attacker changes. You'll see when it's Confusion Future Sight, you'll see that Darkrai is number one, and that's mostly because of the number of feints. You'll see that 23 less feints certainly adds up to quite a bit, and less likely you're gonna lose energy. But when you go to like Moonblast, for example, Chandelure has a fire type resist Moonblast, so it's gonna far outperform Darkrai, and as well Moonblast is gonna be super effective to Darkrai as a dark type. And then when you go to Aurora Beam, it's still Chandelure. So you'll see that Chandelure does really well against Cresselia. Let's take a look at Mewtwo, and then you'll see that. Let's actually just go through Psychic. We expect Darkrai to be number one, which it is, and actually pretty interesting. You can duo Mewtwo quite easily, so it's something, if you're into raid challenges, something for you to consider. With Focus Blast, you're gonna with Psycho Cut Focus Blast, you're gonna see more Gengars perform quite well, but Chandelure is not too far behind. But that triple resist with Gengar is quite useful. And then Thunderbolt, you're gonna see like Giratina perform. Actually, Giratina might actually perform the best, especially if you don't have to re-lobby. But Darkrai puts out quite a bit more DPS than Giratina. And then if we go to Flamethrower, we'll see the Chandelure with its fire resistance is gonna be the best, but it's pretty hard to get a hold of. And then you'll see, so situationally, as a anti-psychic, anti-ghost, it's not always going to be the best, but there are certain situations, like against ghost types, if they have ghost type moves, then Darkrai is for sure going to be the best. Where they have, wherever Darkrai's typing comes into play, it's likely to outperform Chandelure and Gengar and Giratina. So, and it has some decent bulk to it, so it's not super bulky, but it's not as squishy as Gengar, and has pretty good stats to back it up. And then there will be some fun research tasks. So I don't know what they'll be, but I'm sure they'll include a lot of ghost type Pokemon. And then looks like we'll be getting the forbidden Pokemon, which is going to be Spiritomb. So it looks like we're going to get a second shot at Spiritomb. And then looks like there might be some shiny opportunities. Who knows? Not saying anything at this moment, but certainly something that you want to complete that quest, and Spiritomb can have some play in PvP. And then double candy for catches, for hatches, and for raids. And if we take a look at the overall conclusion, my advice, if you're a shiny hunter, raid starters, catch Yenmask and Pikachu. If you're XP grinder, Weedles from Rocket Stops are always really helpful, really cheap on the evolves, and then really great way to grind XP. Ghastlies in the wild are a good source of XP, and then double candy is a good way to stack up on some of that ghost type candy for evolve sessions later on. If you want to raid, if you're a raider and you're looking for the best counters, then Darkrai is certainly going to be a really good counter that you want to include in your arsenal. And in a lot of cases where you're using Giratina Origin Form, you're going to be using Darkrai in place of that. Not in all cases, because obviously they're different types. Giratina still has that dragon typing, which is useful, and as well, like against Giratina, Origin Form definitely has lost some stock because of the presence of Chandelure and now Darkrai, but still going to be useful. But Darkrai certainly is going to be really good in raids if we're taking down legendary raids and some tier 3s and tier 4s. In terms of raid challenges, if you want to duo Darkrai, unless Concondorin, I don't know, whatever that Pokemon's called, the Gen 5 fighter, I don't I'm definitely gonna get flamed in the comments for it. But if that comes out, then it's able to duo Darkrai in neutral, which is something that Machamp can't do, or any other fighting Pokemon can't do at the current moment. So if you want to duo it, you're gonna have to duo it in Cloudy. Some of the fun ones are like doing 12 unique, using fairy types Pokemon. Togekiss, Gardevoir are two of the easiest ones to do it. Kind of borderline is going to be something like Granbull, for example, but probably not. And then various fighting Pokemon can duo in Cloudy for Darkrai. Unfortunately, no Bug type Pokemon, even in rain, can duo Darkrai. So some play. And then if you're a battler, you definitely want to do some rocket stops for Shuppets, do some trades. Remember that Purified type Pokemon is a special trade. And then as well, you can't trade Shadow Pokemon. Sableye, not that you would, because you want lower IV ones. Sableye is also a good rocket stop to do, and it's good for Great League and situational cups. Return is definitely going to see some play. And then Darkrai in Masters is pretty good, and it's a really good counter to Giratina Origin form, because it's going to basically resist Giratina Origin form's standard moveset. It's also going to be able to put a lot of damage to Mewtwo, but Mewtwo can have Focus Blast, so take that into consideration. And yeah, that's my advice for the Halloween event. Normally I don't cover news, so I know this is a super long, in-depth version of it, and I kind of rambled on a bit. But let me know if you want me to cover more news and how my perspective and advice for this news. So this video actually took me quite a bit longer than I expected. So I appreciate any comments, any likes, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see everyone in the next video.